Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So today we'll learn about um, important topic in Java, which is the exception handling. So in this lecture, we'll go through what is the basic understanding of the exception. Then we'll learn about basic exception handling. Then we'll learn about custom exception handling. Then we'll learn about important keywords related to the exception handling, and then we'll learn about advanced exception handling topics and few best practices, and then we'll have few of the question answer we can go through on that. So let's start with the lecture. So in Java, so what is exception? In Java, an exception is an event that disrupts the normal flow of the program execution. It represents error or unexpected condition that occur during runtime, such as division by zero or file not found. The Java provide a robust exception mechanism using try-catch, finally, and throw block. The try block contains the code that might throw an exception, while the catch block handle the exception. The finally block execute regardless of whether an exception occurred or not. The Java exceptions are classified into two types. One is checked and one is unchecked. And another type is that we have error. So what is checked exception? A checked exception is a Java is an exception that compiler requires to handle explicitly, either by using try catch block or declaring an exception with the throws keyword in the method signature. This exception represents conditions that are outside of the control of the program, such as IO errors or database connectivity issue. So those are compile time exception. Since checked exception are anticipated, the compiler ensure that these are addressed, helping them to create more robust program. Common example include IO exception, SQL exception. Failure to handle or declare checked exception result in compile time error. So the next is the unchecked exception. So what is unchecked exception? In Java, an unchecked exception is an exception that extends a runtime exception and occurs during the program execution. Unlike checked exception, unchecked exception are not required to be explicitly handled or declared by the programmer. They typically represent programming error or unexpected condition such as logical error or illegal argument. Common examples include null pointer, index out of bound exception, and arithmetic exception. Since these exceptions are often caused by the bugs or issues, those are those should be corrected during the development. Java does not force the developer to handle them, allowing for cleaner and more flexible code. So the next type is the error. So in Java, an error represents a serious problem or serious issues that typically cannot be recovered from within the program. Errors are represented by the error class and its subclasses. Often, subclasses are often caused by the external factor like hardware failure or JVM issues. So, unlike exceptions, errors are not meant to be caught or handled in application code. Common examples include out of memory error, stack overflow error. This error usually indicate critical conditions that require attention at the system or environmental level rather than being resolved by the program itself. As a result, handling error is generally not recommended in normal Java applications. So we have learned about what is checked, what is unchecked, type of exception, and what is error. Now we'll learn about what is a exception hierarchy. So in Java, exceptions are organized in a hierarchical route um, that is coming from the throwable class, which is the two main subclasses, error and exception. Error represents serious system level issues and are not meant to be caught. The exception class, on the other hand, is further divided into checked and unchecked, as we seen earlier. So the checked exception, like we have seen, a exception must be explicitly handled or declared, while unchecked exceptions are like null pointer, inherit from the runtime exception and are optional to handle. The exception hierarchy allows for structure handling of the various conditions, ensuring that programs can recover gracefully from anticipated issues and report or log unanticipated one. So we'll have seen the basic understanding of that. Now we'll write few simple program to throw throw a basic exception handling. So we'll move to the editor. So we'll write the Java program in using Visual Studio Editor. So here I have installed already previously the Java SDK and required settings or plugins to run the Java program from the Visual Studio. So you can either use the Visual Studio or any other IDE like IntelliJ or Eclipse. Those are readily available in the market in a free open source. So those can be also useful to create a Java program and run the Java program. But make sure whenever you're running, the Java SDK should be the primary requirement to run any Java program. So here I have created one folder with demo1, and here I'll create a Java file. So public class, and I'll create this as exception handling. And let's save this class with a name. Copy. Exception handling.java. Okay, so here, as we know, we need to have a main class. We should have a main method in Java program. Now let's do one thing. We'll just write a simple statement. Like if we try to say int result. So if we try to divide any number by 0, definitely it will throw an exception. Okay, because any number cannot be divided by 0. So we need to catch the exception, we need to write a try catch block. Try catch, and then I'll write a finally. Okay, in the catch, you need to catch the proper exception. So here it will throw an arithmetic exception. Okay, because it will just a exception that is coming from arithmetic operations. Okay, now in the catch block you can print what exception is throwing. This out. So error division by 0. So that is a custom message you can put, but at the same time we can print the e dot get message. Okay, and in the finally we can also write a final statement that finally block executed. Okay, so we are done with the programming. What's error is showing? Println. Okay, I think that's fine. No. Why it's not coming? Let's copy this one, paste. Okay, let's try to run it. Okay, okay, got it. So system.out.println, it will not be, it will be plus sign because that will take only single argument. Okay, okay. So there is two way to run the program. One is that go to the run and then to run with the debugging. Okay, and choose the compiler. You can see the first catch block printout statement is coming error division by 0. Okay, um, okay, division by 0 and exception is by 0. Okay, e dot get message and then finally block executed. Okay, so there is another way to do it. You need to do first compile this method. Okay, and then run this Java class. Okay, so first it will print the catch statement and then it will print the finally block. So here we have understood how to write the exception and how to catch the exception in try catch block. So next we'll try to understand what is a custom exception. So custom exception in handling in Java involves creating a user-defined exception by extending exception or runtime exception class. Okay, so to create a custom exception, define a new class that inherit from the exception class, which is a checked exception, or runtime exception, that is an unchecked one. So you can add a custom constructor to pass a specific error message or additional data. Once defined, the custom exception can be thrown using throw keyword and caught using try catch block. The custom exception helps improve code clarity and maintainability by providing more meaningful error message specific to a application's logic or business rule. Okay, so that is the basic understanding of the custom exception. So here, the next program will write to create a custom exception that will also throw a functional error. Suppose um, you're creating a Java logic where you're taking some age of a um, person, which that to complete the process of the age cannot be negative. Like it is always um, it is always 0. So if someone put a negative value in the age, then that should be through an exception. Okay, so first I'll create a custom exception class. So we need, okay, I will write the name of that invalid age exception. Okay, now as this is a custom exception, that should be either through, either it will extend either exception or runtime exception. So we'll extend with extend with exception. Okay, now as it extends from exception, so we need to um, write a constructor which will actually process the message and it will call this super constructor of the exception. So it will be public Invalid exception string message and then super, it will call a message, it will pass the message. Okay. Okay. So the custom exception class has been created. Now we need to call that custom exception from another class. So I'll create another class from where we'll write this exception, call this exception. So it will be custom exception .java. Okay, so here we'll write a main method. So here we'll define some age. Let some okay. Let some try int age equal to -5. Okay. Then we check if age less than 0. Then we need to throw in that custom exception, throw invalid age exception, and we need to pass a message age cannot be negative. So now as we throw an error, we need to catch this one. So we need to surround with try catch block. Okay, so I just need to move the entire piece of code inside the try catch, cut and paste. Here we need to catch the invalid exception. Because we are throwing this invalid age exception, so we need to catch this exception, and here we can print what the message you are getting. So caught exception and plus e dot get message, and you can put a finally statement also. Finally, then sys out finally block executed. So it will be a new one. We need to create a new instance. Okay, so our code is done. So let's review the code one more time. Here what we're doing, we're creating a invariable which value is less than 0. Now we are saying if age is less than 0, we need to create a new custom exception and we will throw that one. As we are throwing from this try block, let's do indentation proper. Then in the catch block, we are actually catching this one, catching the custom exception, and we are extracting what message we are passing from here, and we are printing in the sysout log. Okay, so let's save, and I just try to run it. Java C custom exception. Okay. Why it is showing? Okay, I need to save one. Okay, because earlier we had not saved that custom exception class. Okay, so I need to write Java custom exception dot Java. So here you can see, um, first it will come to the catch block. It is printing caught exception, but what message? The message is coming from in the from the custom exception class. Okay, and then lastly, final block executed. Okay, so this custom exception is very helpful to create or segregate the type of different kind of exception that are logically or functionally you can distinguish in your application. Okay, so next we'll go through, we'll understand few of the basic um, keywords, important keywords in regarding the exception handling. So first is the throw keyword. So the throw keyword is useful um, to explicitly throw an exception from a method or block of code. So there is a little difference between throw and the throws. So again, I'm repeating, throw is used to throw an exception from a method or piece of block of code. Okay. So it allows developer to trigger a both built-in and custom exception, signaling error conditions or abnormal program flow. When an exception is throw using throw clause, the program's control is transferred to the nearest catch block. Or if it is not handled properly, the default exception handler will be invoked. The throw keyword is followed by instance throwable, usually exception or error, unlike throws, which which declares exception for a method. Okay, so now coming into throws keyword. So throws keyword is used to in a method signature to indicate that a method may throw an exception. Okay, so you need to define. So if you're expecting that a method can throw an exception, okay, then you need to define the same exception or a super exception in the with the throws keyword in the method signature. So we'll see in program how we can use this two important keyword, throw and the throws. Okay, so we'll create a new Java class to understand this two concept. First, throw example dot Java. Okay, why is not coming? Oops, it's got hang, I believe. Okay, let's try one more time. Throw example dot Java. Okay, so first I'll create a method over here. So this method will check if the age of a member is less than 18. So it will throw an illegal argument exception. Here we are not creating a custom exception. Please be mind. Okay, so here we are creating a inside a class. We can create a method, but that method will be calling from a published main methods, as the main method is a static. So I need to define the calling method also be static. So static void validate age. Okay, then int age, if say age is less than 10, throw new illegal argument, illegal argument exception and here we'll write age must be 10 or older. So here we are actually throwing an exception. Okay, so when this method will be called, so there we need to catch that one. Let's create a main method. So then we call this validate age method with say age less than 8, 10, that is 9. Okay, now this will throw an exception, so we need to wrap up with the try catch block. Okay, so create a try catch block and move this one inside the try catch block. So instead of the exception catch exception class, that is a super class for all exception, we can catch illegal argument exception, because this method is throwing this exception, and here we can write this out error message e dot get message. Okay, so again repeat, we're going through one more time what we have done so far. We're creating a static method. In the static method we create some custom logic that if age is less than 10, then either we can throw a custom exception or we can throw a specific type of exception, that is illegal argument exception, and inside that we can pass the exact error message that age must be 10 or older. Okay, and in the main method we're creating calling this validate age method, and we are passing your some age which is less than 10, and we when this method will be called, it will throw an exception, and once it is throw, it will come to the catch block because this throw and this catch is matching, and here it will print the exact error message. Okay, let's save it and then we'll run it. Java, what is the name? Throw example. Okay, so here you can see error message must be uh, 10 or older because it is less than 10. Now it will run with 11. Okay, so save it and do one more thing. It will print nothing because it will not throw an exception because the age is bigger than 10, and that's the reason it is not coming to the catch block. Another way we can do that, finally. If we put a finally, then what will do for all the cases, it will come to the finally block, and you can verify that also. Okay, so one more time, let's try to run this program. See, here you can see finally block executed. So it will validate the age, it has passed the condition, it will not receive any exception from the validate age method, so it is not went to the catch block. However, it will go into the finally block, and it will finally print the message that is present into the finally block. So this is the way you can use a throw clause to throw an exception to your to the current uh, to throw an exception from the current method or into the super method. Okay, so next we'll understand the few example with the throws clause. Okay, so create another new method. Let's close all the Java program. So create a new file. It will be Java file. It will be throws example. Only S will be there. Okay. So here we'll try to create two method. So method B actually um, so as I told earlier, throws clause should be defined into the method signature. So we'll create a method, and from that method we'll throw new exception. Okay, and from another method we call that method, and again the method will throw an exception to the that is coming from the child class, and we'll try to catch that exception into the main method. Okay, so let's try to do a code. So first create a static method, static void method. So this method will throw throws. So first I'll try to put some sys out. We'll try to inside method A. So why this error is coming? Because uh, okay, let's define a second method, static void method B, and again it will be throws IO exception. Here actually you are throwing a new exception. Exception from method B, and here we'll just put sys out. Okay, then we'll write main method, we'll write a try catch block, and then we call a method. So and here we can catch the exception, and we are calling a method E. Sys out caught IO exception, and then dot get message. So why it is coming method A is undefined? Let's try to see method A is undefined. Here what is coming as never used, and here method B. Save. So first of all, throw new IO exception, that is fine. Throws clause will be there. Okay, so no, that is fine. That is also two. File save. What? Now if we time this one, okay. Okay, then we write Java C throws Java throws. Let's try to understand what happened. So this main method call a method A. Method A is called method B, but before printing the method B, this block is getting printed. So inside method A. So method B is calling first printing the inside method B, and it will throw an exception, a exception. So in the method A also it is not catching. So it is just whatever exception is coming from method A, it will just throws the exception to the upper layer. Okay. So next we'll understand the few advanced exception handling topics. First is the multiple catch. Okay. So in the multiple catch in Java, allow handling different type of exception with a single method. So you can place multiple catch block after a single try block, each designed to handle a specific type of exception. The program evaluates the exception in the order of the catch block appear and execute the corresponding block when exception matches. This enables precise error handling as each exception type can be managed differently. Alternatively, multiple try-catch block can be added used to for handling exception in different parts of the code. So, and the second topic is the chain exception. So chain exception allow one exception to be cause of another, providing more context about the error. This is useful when an exception is thrown while handling other exception. So you can create a chain exception by passing the original exception to the constructor of the new exception using throwable or init clause method, or by using constructor that accept the cause. This preserves the original exception and provide a stack trace that shows both exception. Chaining helps improve debugging and provide clear understanding of the sequence of the error. Okay, so we'll learn about this two topic. Let's do some hands-on. So let's close this older Java program, create a new file, and it will be Java file. So we'll write this method as multiple catch example. Okay, so as it will have a main method. Okay, so in the main method, define some array with a new int 2. Okay, so int, and then try to access. So this is a array with two element. So now if we trying to access this array or the fifth element of this array, then or trying to assign element value on the fifth position of this array, what will happen? So if we'll try to assign a fifth equal to 10, so then what will happen? It will throw an exception. So exception will be index array of bound exception. Just try to move this piece of block to here. Okay, now here two things you can add. One is the index out of bound exception E, or arithmetic exception A. Okay, or what you can do is that you need to define single. What can happen? Okay, so you need to define only one variable over here and try to put this out. Exception caught e dot array dot get message. Okay, so if we run this one, Java multiple okay, so this cannot find main method, so we need to compile this method first. So I don't think this is required. You can remove this one. Okay, file, save, and then Java C multiple. Okay, Java multiple. Okay, so here you can see that exception caught message print, and the exact error is that index 5 is out of bound of length 2. Okay, so this will show you that here we have actually added two exception. One is index out of bound and one is arithmetic exception. Okay, so this is a multiple catch example. Okay, now we'll create another example of chain exception. So create another file, new class, chain exception, example. Okay, do a main method. Okay, so in the chain exception, like if you throw an exception, then it will catch by another try block. So first try create a try clutch block. So we'll say null pointer exception, and in the try block just create string str equal to null. Okay, and then try to get the length. Int ngth into str dot length. So you're trying to access a value variable which is a null, and try to access the some property or method of the null value. So it will show a null pointer exception. So now it will catch over here, and you can throw a new exception, throw new illegal argument exception, illegal argument exception, argument exception, and here we can pass illegal argument and then e. Okay, so this will throw another exception, but now we need to catch this one in another try catch block. So we'll try to wrap this one in another try catch. So just try to cut this one, and you need to paste this one, and in the catch block you can illegal argument exception e, and you can put system.out sysout caught e dot get message. Okay, now if we save it and try to compile and run it, java chain example java java. So you can see it is coming from here, caught illegal caught illegal argument. So it is coming from here, but it is not actually or what you can say, if you can change this e dot get message, e dot get message, it will not happen because it will um, or do one thing, get cause, you can print it out, cause in dot get cause. So if we run this one, compile and run, okay, hold on, caught is coming, why the cause is not coming? Let's try to run from here. Okay, so here you can see two messages coming. One is a code, that is the actual message we are passing to the illegal argument exception, and the actual cause is that cannot invoke string null because it's a null value. So here you can pass this chain multiple exception in a single exception command. So once we're done with this advanced exception handling, let's move to the next topic. So here we have listed down few of the best practices we can use. So first is the use specific exception. So catch specific exception rather than generic one. Like if you know what kind of exception is coming, so generic means it's an exception class, but if you know that your piece of code may throw illegal argument exception or arithmetic exception or null pointer exception, so you need to caught specific type of exception. Avoid empty catch block. Always log or handle exception meaningfully. Like if you have a catch block, just try to put in the stack trace a message or get calls either in the log file or in the system out, or what other way you can use it. Use custom exception judiciously. Custom exception should be used only when existing exception don't adequately describe the error. So don't swallow the exception. That is a critical thing. I mean, if you catch an exception, make sure it is either handled or logged. But if you don't do anything in the catch block, that is a bigger mistake the developer is doing. And that is the deadlock for a piece of code. That means you swallow the exception but you're doing nothing over there. And the last one is the finally. Ensure resource cleanup like closing the file, closing the database connection, cleaning up on the array, all the things you can do in the finally block. That will, because anyway, if it is success or fail, the finally will automatically get executed. And if you do all the cleanup activity in the final block, that will help to manage the resource properly. So we are done with the exception. Let's quickly recap what we have learned so far. So we have learned first, so we covered the basic exception handling in Java, custom exception, best practices, and advanced technical skill like multi-catch chain exception. So the key takeaway is always handle exception effectively, use try catch and finally block appropriately. Utilize throw and throws for managing exception in your method. Follow the best practices like catching specific exception and logging meaningful message. So I'll uh, I'm trying to wrap up over here. So if you have any questions on this video, you can write in the comment box. I'll get back to you. Hopefully you liked my video, and please try to uh, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you everyone.